My next guest is Kimber Rose, and she's the owner of the Intimacy Vault. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, I am a certified somatic intimacy coach, which means I help individuals and couples awaken their body's wisdom through science-backed techniques and tantric practices.
Okay.
That's a mouthful there.
It is a mouthful. Now, before you came on, I asked you, do you work, valley-wide, statewide? Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because you could work Zoom with your business with whatever happened during COVID. Now, guess what? We can do almost anything now.
Yes, I do work with clients all over the world, actually. I've had clients in Dubai, as well as everywhere here in the United States. I do mostly in-person sessions, but I do have a lot of clients that can't make it in person, so I do opt for Zoom. I actually use Google Meet.
So, asking you a question. You said somatic intimacy coaching.
Yes.
What is it?
Well, it's a way to really have a conversation with your body. So the reason why coaching is different from, like, say, therapy or counseling is that those are more talk-based therapies. They're great therapies. I'm not discounting them at all, because actually people who are in therapy are getting counseling and have coaching in, like, coinciding. It's very symbiotic. So with the coaching, we're just really diving deeper into the body's wisdom with breath work and somatic practices that really help to speak to the nervous system.
Now, before you came on, one of the things that you said was that it's, when people are dealing with these types of issues, it's not just older folks, it's almost anybody.
Anyone.
Right?
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I get a lot of people that come to me that are really disconnected from their pleasure centers, disconnected from their partners, disconnected from themselves. They don't even realize that they're disconnected from their own body. And when we disconnect from our body, we are completely disconnecting from that most intimate part of us. It starts with us, essentially.
So you do a consultation with them,
I
right?
do.
Obviously you do. You work with both men, women, couples.
Yes.
Let's talk about that too, because a lot of people feel, I don't know if they feel comfortable about even coming in and talking with their significant other. Even they want to be by themselves so they can talk to you first, right?
It's really difficult. So sometimes I'll have couples reach out to me together, but generally it's one person in the relationship and they reach out and say, this is what we're experiencing. Sometimes that person will opt to do individual sessions, but I always try to get them to both come in, because they're only giving me one piece of the story. I need to get the other
There's
side.
another side of that
Right,
story.
we all
always.
perceive things differently in relationship. We're perceiving what we're doing and what our partner is doing, and that type of communication isn't always exact.
Now, the phone number to call you is 602-284-3652. Your website is theintimacyvault.com. And how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing this for a couple of years.
So a couple of years.
Yes.
And something when I remember you telling me that before we had even decided to do this, is that you started off in one area and you found that so many people are having issues.
Yes.
And when they come to you, how do you work with them? Because I'm sure it's so hard to get them to open up a little bit.
It sometimes is difficult to get people to open up, but I think that really by the time they've made the commitment to reach out to me, they've made the decision something really needs to change in my life or in my relationship. So, and that's what I found too in the past, like we had previously spoken about what I did to help educate women about sexual health and wellness as a nurse, and really just helping women to recognize, what does pleasure feel like in my body? Pleasure isn't always sexually associated, right? I think we do associate pleasure with sex, but it's about like the touch of how you wear clothes, like, ooh, this shirt feels really pleasurable on my skin right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or I get a lot of pleasure out of reading books or taking a hot bath or doing whatever self-care, but also it's about reconnecting with your body.
And just your partner, because,
Yes.
that sometimes that goes away after many, many years, sometimes not, short years, but, bringing it back, I think if you lose something important, don't you always want to try and find it?
Absolutely,
Right?
yeah. That's the biggest request is people say, I wanna feel like how I felt when we were dating. Like,
Sure.
you're never gonna bring that back, that's just science, but I can help you reconnect with yourself so that you know how to reconnect with your partner.
One of the things that you talk about here is that you incorporate Tantra, somatic healing, and breath work into the sessions,
Yes.
okay?
So tantric practices helps us to get in touch with our own pleasure. It helps us to be more present. Tantra is about being in total loving presence, connecting with someone, whether it's physically or energetically, as well as the breath work helps to really get us in tune with our nervous system.
Now, her phone number is 602-284-3652. The website is the INTIMACYVault.com. You gotta tell them why you call it vault.
Because it's where all the secrets are stored. Our body is like a vault, and we just have to know the right combination to get into all of the goodness.
So, okay, let's talk about men,
Yeah,
okay, for a minute,
okay.
and their performance anxiety.
Yeah, very common.
Yeah,
And
right.
a lot of the times it has nothing to do with sex. Like I worked with a client recently, and in our like third or fourth session, we were able to unlock the root cause of his performance anxiety. And it really stemmed from a moment in high school when he was on the baseball team and he messed up royally, and all he wanted from his coach was a hug. Like a high school kid, I just needed a hug and like reassurance, and the coach like berated him, and from that point forward, he just sort of shrunk, and he wasn't a good pitcher afterwards. He couldn't play any position very well.
A lot
and
of
then
people
it
can relate
stuck
to
with
that.
him through his whole life and really made itself present in his sexual life.
So how does it start when somebody, obviously they're gonna call you,
Yeah.
right, and have a consultation with you? Is it usually the women that call first?
No, it's the men.
Really? I'm
Mhm.
surprised. I think
I'm
that's
not.
great though.
Think about it. What's the one thing that deteriorates the longer you're in a relationship and you have a family with women? Sex.
Your sex, yeah.
What do men always want more of?
Sex.
Yes. So the men are like, these things are not congruent in my relationship the way that I want them to be. So this is
Well,
what
I think
need.
that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that though.
Yeah.
Because I do always say that the women have they're the catalyst of a lot of things.
We are.
But it's
yeah.
great to know that, they want, and I think wanting to fix it, I think that's the most important thing. We only have a couple of minutes here, so I just wanna ask, obviously we've been talking about reconnecting the sexuality and the sensuality and being able to come. How many people, I just gotta ask you this, out of my own thoughts here,
Yeah.
have, when they're with you, what do they say after they've, gotten some of your help? What do they come to you and say, thank you, we're, so blessed to have now back our relationship? What do they say?
Well, with couples, it's really about gaining back the effective communication so that they're not feeling shame or judged or guilt whenever they want to communicate something, especially like new, right? Like I want to try a new position or I want to try some kink or something, they don't feel judged. But they really are thankful that they have that connection back.
Yeah,
that
I
their
can imagine.
intimacy is regained.
I think that's just wonderful. So the people that are listening, this is something that could be you or someone that you know. Tell them that, if they don't even know someone like you exist,
Right, I know.
right?
What kind of a hidden gem?
Yeah, but it's really nice to know that there are people out there that can help. And what's really nice is you're not just a psychologist or something like that, right?
Right.
A coach that can really understand
Yes.
and give you the time that it needs,
Right.
to bring back your sexuality and your sensuality and your love for one another. Not that you don't love them, but that
Right.
in that other way, right?
Sometimes we lose sight of that though, because
Yeah.
life happens.
I bet. Now, her phone number is 602-284-3652. We're gonna go because it's so fast. I'm so sorry that they go so
Thank
fast.
you for having me.
But ladies and gentlemen, it's so important that when you have a relationship and that things are, falling off a little bit, have somebody that can help. Her phone number again is 602-284-3652. It's the IntimacyVault.com.